My name is Anita Hairston. I work for PolicyLink, which is a national advocacy organization that works to advance social and economic equity in America. I think an intelligent city actually is one that learns from itself and learns from its mistakes. It identifies its successes, and where things didn't go right in the city, it finds solutions to those challenges that are created. Sometimes we're looking for the answer. We set up a way of analyzing data and looking for data that tells us the answer that we think is the solution. And sometimes that's not the direction that we want to go. So that's one of the real challenges that I think planners, designers, urban policymakers face, is allowing the data to tell you what the situation and the landscape is and lead you toward a solution. I think about desire lines. Those are the kind of pathways that people take that cut through different parts of the city. They'll cut through a whole block. Some people will be happy to walk through an alley because it's a straighter shot. In some cases, it is more safe. It is a respite for some people in the midst of a busy city. And so it's important to kind of follow those desire lines, because we might miss opportunities if we don't look at them and allow that data, the natural patterns that people undertake. If we don't study those patterns and we don't pull data from that to lead us to conclusions, then we might end up over-engineering a street. We might end up creating a building or a facade that really isn't inviting and isn't one that people will take advantage of. And that's, when we talk about intelligent cities, we want to think about how that data that's natural and organic that comes from people's habits can really inform what the urban form looks like. One significant challenge that planners and designers and urban policymakers face when it comes to data is the tendency to try to allow the data to fit the answer that you're looking for. And there's many ways that manifests itself. Whether it's kind of making decisions ahead of time about pedestrian safety, for example, and whether or not we've engineered our intersections to be ones that allow for vehicle and pedestrian traffic. And what are some of the policies that we've put in place in addition to that design that either favor the pedestrian or favor the vehicle. And when we have information that allows us to understand where we ought to be placing our emphasis, and we allow that information to come out organically, whether it be through injury and crash reports that come from unfortunate incidents that happen at intersections, or whether it be collecting data from drivers and pedestrians about what is the ideal way that they would like to be able to travel through the city, and then letting that guide how the design and the policy that's set up for our intersections, our streets, our boulevards in the city. The other thing related to the challenges that planners and designers and policymakers face when it comes to data is this issue of data literacy, but also understanding the audience, understanding how people want to receive data and how people want to use data. I think about the fact that when we talk about data and devices, our digital devices, that there's a real difference between the devices that people use depending on their demographics. And we have to really study and understand that, young people of color, for example, have cell phones at amazing rates, and they're receiving text messages and they're sending them. And if we think about the volume of information that they're sending on a daily basis, it may add up to an infographic, but they're not necessarily receiving that on their smartphone. But they want that information that's in that graphic. And so we have to think about the information that we're conveying, and as policymakers and designers, we have to find creative ways to reach people through the means that they're naturally using, because there's untapped potential that's there to take advantage of that data and make decisions and enhance people's lives based on that. One of the kind of technological solutions, which is a small one, but I think has a major impact and can have a major impact on kind of the way we view our opportunities for food in the intelligent city. And that's the introduction of electronic benefit transfer machines at farmers markets. It seems like a small thing, but the idea that a farmer's market can be a place that's inclusive for everyone and a learning environment for people who may not have had exposure to that in their generation. It may be true that their grandparents or their great-grandparents were connected to the land, connected to a farm, but may have lost that in the city. And being able to introduce small technological fixes that open a whole world to people who've not experienced that. If your experience growing up from childhood is cabbages come from the supermarket, that frames your worldview and in many ways limits your understanding of the world and also your understanding of what an intelligent city can be and your role in that city.